And we are live. We are here with MISCHKE Butler, songwriter, producer, vocal producer. And now we have an echo. Hold on real quick.
Oh, see you, brother. Is he gone?
I think he stepped out for a minute. He was having some audio issues. He's going to call back, I think.
Okay. Anything you guys want to know? What can I help you with?
Well, I'd love to just maybe, if you started with just your approach when you're approaching a song. I know you write a song probably lyrically and melodically first, but then how do you approach how to add the vocal arranging in, you know, too much, too little, to try to keep it at that perfect balance? So how do you usually approach adding in the vocal arranging once you've already created the lyrics and melody of the song?
It's a different approach now than it was even 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I would have probably added a lot more backgrounds than they do today. But I think ears have become trained to, you know, one rapper melodies. Kind of moved into urban music and in pop music.
Yeah.
I probably don't put as much as I used to. I've been blessed in the last year to work with a few people who always ask for more, so that's always more fun. But I think my approach has always been just whatever sounds good, whatever feels good. No real science to it. If it's I'll throw the wall at it if it sounds good. But if it doesn't sound good, you know, if it doesn't add something that makes everything else pop, then you know.
Yeah, so it's just kind of finding what makes it pop. And because what I find sometimes, because I love harmony, and you know, sometimes I'd be like, oh, okay, maybe adding a little too much, so knowing when to take back so that it doesn't detract from the overall melody of the song, things like that. Oh, wait, I just got a message from my aunt, and he said whoever was the last person to come in, if they could leave, because now he's unable to come in. So I don't know who that was who entered right after he right after he right after he left from his technical issues. He's asking if they could step out. I don't know. Whoever was the last person to just come in and about.
I'm gonna hang up.
Sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. I feel bad to deliver that news, but I'll let him know he can come in. But yeah, so that's interesting to hear what you were just saying in the past 6 years, how you had to change, how it's less and less that you're adding in now.
It's less and less. I mean, you know, there are some projects that just want a lot of vocals, you know, that really want that kind of sound. There, you know, I think one thing that has changed in the last couple of years, well, in the last year, is Bruno. And
yeah,
Bruno likes the vocals, and I think what he's bringing is kind of changing the system again. You know, so
yeah,
we're beginning to kind of get used to. Philip Lawrence is his main co-writer and vocal producer and producer and co-producer, is a pretty good friend of mine, and you know, he loves some vocals. So you know, I think he probably has a lot to do with that.
So it's good because he's kind of training the new listeners back to that sound that I love, you know. So that's a good thing.
Exactly. When I started with a producer named Rodney Jerkins, and the first records that I did with him was the Spice Girls. We used to do, I mean, just huge amounts of backgrounds. And then the next artist was a girl named Rona Bennett, who was his first solo artist that he'd signed to Sony. And I remember us being so excited that we maxed out Pro Tools. And back in those days, maxing out Pro Tools only took 64 tracks. We couldn't put any more vocals than what we done. We were so excited, and it sounded huge, it sounded amazing, but I think after years of doing it, I realized, 64 tracks, doing 8 of every harmony probably isn't.
Yeah.
Sounds great, but it's probably not necessary.
Yeah. So now when you stack, do you stack 4 or do you do 2, or how do you stack now?
4 now.
4?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And if it's a part that doesn't really need to be featured, I'll do 2 of it. But usually it's 4s.
Yeah. And this will be my last question. I know you started your first DAW was it Cubase, right?
Yeah.
That you started working in? Cubase. So how did you teach yourself that, or how did you get so proficient in Cubase?
Cubase was something that I taught myself, but it was more because everything that has come technology-wise in the music business came to me because I was tired of waiting for other people. There was a studio that I needed to get in to be able to actually record, and they were either too expensive or didn't have the time. And at some point, I just realized, just do it yourself.
Yeah.
I got Cubase, and back in those days, it was early days on Cubase, so it wasn't even on a Mac version. It was on Atari, which actually, to this day, even Teddy Riley would tell you it was the best DAW ever.
Wow.
Based on an Atari Stacy, and I wrote tons of records on that. But truthfully, Pro Tools was my next DAW, but it was really because I just knew what I needed to be able to complete things quickly and make them sound professional. So easy in Pro Tools. But the funny thing is, Cubase is part of the reason why I ever got discovered. I was one of the few people, and I was probably one of the only people in Los Angeles who knew how to sync Cubase on the same computer with Pro Tools. And a good friend of mine knew I probably was the only one. I was part of Rodney Jerker's camp. And, he invited me to the studio, asked me if I could set this up. It took me 2 seconds to set up, and when I finished, I was ready to leave. But John Marie, who was the engineer, asked Harvey, "Hey, Misha's a really great songwriter. You should go and ask Rodney whether you can give him some tracks, because he's dope." And one thing led to the next. We went back and asked him if we could do it. He gave me 3 tracks. I wrote to those 3 tracks. Those 3 tracks changed my life.
Wow, I love that.
All from Cubase.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If it could go wrong, it will, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
See what I mean, Mishka? We talked about issues I've had in the last, 2 days, and this just added on to it. Okay, so Mishka, when you were talking about doing the 8 deep on the vocals, what was lost? What do you feel was lost when you stopped doing that? As you simplified that, what was actually lost in the sound or whatever?
You mean when I used to do 8 of everything?
Yes, you did 8 of everything. That was a certain sound. What's the difference? What was lost and gained? Whatever.
Nothing was lost. That's
nothing.
That's like my whole point of it. Literally nothing was lost, and I know a lot of people who do 3s, and they're pretty happy with their blends. I have always felt like, for me, just panning wise, 3 doesn't give me the options that I need. So if I do 3, one of them is probably going to be somewhere in the center, 6, 7 to the right or left, and the other one's going to be wide. If I do 4, it gives me way more options as to where those hands are. If I do hey, it's just pretty much if you're a good singer, and I don't really work with anybody who isn't a pretty good singer. Once you start covering over 4, you're really not really doing much. You're not adding much. It's not really adding as much thickness as you think it is. I mean, after doing it for years, I've realized, because I went through another phase after I did 8s. I went to 6 on the main and 4 on everything else. And then I realized, those 2 tracks really aren't adding that much. So I went to 4. So it's 4s of everything.
Okay, when you were working on B2K or Marion, was that when you were doing the tons of vocals?
I was probably at 6 on the mains, 4 on everything.
Okay, because really like those. When that, huh?
But usually what I did with them was if it was me and Marion really blended well together. So if I did 4 of him, I'd do 2 of me on each note. Same with Raz, just for backgrounds, not for leads. His leads are, God bless him, is great talent.
So you're telling me that on a lot of these songs, you're flat out in there?
On a lot of the songs. Yeah, on a lot of songs.
Okay, which then goes to the thing of a lot of the singers, like what some of the producers actually bring to the session, to the actual song, is way more than a lot of people think. Like these songs wouldn't.
I'll show
Yeah.
you. Okay, hold on a second. Let me see how loud this is.
Okay.
Okay, this is the first version. Is it too loud?
Nope.
What that record ended up becoming was this. That's my.
Okay, bruh.
So
And
when you listen to backgrounds, now realize those backgrounds. There's a lot of MISCHKE backgrounds on that.
Wow. Okay, bruh. First, respect to Michael Jackson, R.I.P. Bruh. What you as a producer, because each producer, producers are different. For you, not what is a producer? No. When you're a producer, what do you do? What do you bring to the table? Because like when they pay you and they pay you well or whatever, when they bring MISCHKE on, what are they getting?
They know they're getting somebody who's going to make sure that no matter what, vocally, they're going to be pushed. They're going to sound as good as they've ever sounded in their life. That's my goal for every singer that I work with, whether it's a brand new singer who's never had a record out, or whether it's the biggest artist, is to make them reach a level that they always wanted to reach, that they hadn't reached before. Michael is a special being, so you can take all that and throw that in the trash. That's Michael. Michael is and always will be my favorite artist that I ever was blessed to work with. And you know, when I was with Rodney, the one thing that I always wanted to do, and the one thing I worked my butt off to make sure I did, was to have a record on Michael. It didn't matter, and it took a lot of, we wrote a lot of records for me to end up with the one that I ended up on that record. So, you know, it's not like it just came. We worked, and Michael made sure we worked. You know, every morning we would get a call from Michael. If Michael wasn't there, Michael would call us and give us, you know, basically a pep talk about how what we were doing was amazing, and now take that to the moon. You know what I mean? So it's like he always pushed you to go farther and farther and farther. So.
You said take that to the moon. That's what Dave Isaac kept saying, take that to the moon. And he worked with Michael. So Michael basically was elevating you guys, teaching you guys, just as we as producers are supposed to push the artists and make them whatever. He's doing that to you producers.
Everybody, to all of us. Now, to be perfectly honest, I have to totally, you know, truthful. This record was produced by Rodney Jerkins, the master. I co-wrote the record with Michael, Sean Daniels, and I'm sure Freddie's on the record, and I can't remember the girl who wrote the bridge, freaking amazing. But this was a collaboration of many people. But you know, I remember when I was in the studio with Rodney, and Rodney started working on that beat, and I knew, because we worked on probably 20 other artists in that week, just track and song wise. And I knew when I heard the track, that's Michael. Like, there's nobody else in the world that record who's ever gonna do that record besides Michael. And I got in there with Rodney, we wrote that up. And it wasn't until, I think we were at Sony recording studios when we wrote the hook, but we would often go back to Rodney's home in Jersey. He had a pretty nice facility there, but his studio was being torn down. That it was like renovated, and I think they had another 3 weeks to go. So I literally, all those backgrounds you heard were sung in Rodney's den at his house, with, you know, hard drive blazing in the room. Mike, Rodney was actually having he would have like basketball parties, and he had like all these, you know, celebs and people out there playing basketball, having food while I'm in there recording. He'd come in and listen. He'd come in and be like, oh, add this, you know, like all those. I never would have done that had Rodney not told me to. But as I did it, he was just like, see, now that's Michael. He said, when Michael hears this, I guarantee you he won't even sing those backgrounds. So I guarantee you that'll be the record. Watch. And he was right. Who actually recorded Michael when it came time to recording? Almost always it was Michael, Rodney, and Dexter Simmons. Dexter Simmons was Rodney's mixer. I think Dex won a Grammy for Never Say Never. I didn't record with Michael until many years after. During that whole Invincible phase, that was all Dexter Simmons and Rodney.
Okay.
Dex had done, he did Never Say Never with Rodney, mixed a lot of the big singles, and then went to work with Dr. Freeze. And Dr. Freeze was working with Michael way before Rodney was. So during that whole period, even though Dex was, you know, one of Rodney's favorite people, he became somebody that Michael really loved and loved working with. He had a thing about island people, and Dex is a Trini, and he just loved them. So he was always around. When we did Heartbreaker was like kick drums, snares. Some of those sounds are not kick drums. They're not snares. They're many different sounds put together from Dexter walking around the streets of New York with a mobile recorder, recording little pieces of things to make a kick out of, like, some of it's, I think there's a lion's roar in there, and that came from the zoo.
Wow. Okay, what did Michael school you on where you grew? What did you actually learn to where you grew from Michael?
Simplicity, and more than anything, that melody is king. You know, you can put a bunch of beautiful harmonies around anything, and I can harmonize anything. But if that melody isn't solid on its own, everything else you add is, you're just polishing a turd. And, you know, Michael definitely taught that simplicity is everything, but melody is king. And if you don't have a great melody, doesn't matter what you say on top of it. It doesn't matter what you sing on top of it. Doesn't matter how you polish it. It's still not what you want it to be. So that would be. And I think anybody I've ever worked with, chord track guys, who've been blessed to work with Michael, the biggest thing he taught them was simplicity. Break it down. You know, you don't need, you don't need 20 different progressions to get to a hook. It's very simple. You know.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a couple of more questions, and I want to make sure these guys get in.
Okay.
So whoever wants to, okay, Ghost has a question, so we'll go to him next. The melody. Would you please demonstrate how you whistle and come up with a melody?
It's different. It's kind of different. I have a lot of times if I'm like very conserving of vocals, and I feel like if even at this volume, you know, like, I'm probably not gonna be singing over this, you know. Like, I try to protect my voice. You know, so if I would, it's more about, it came more from that than it did from me just deciding to whistle. And the funny thing is, like, years took, I'm like a huge Chaka Khan fan, huge. And nephew and I wrote this record with her brother, that we cut on her a couple years ago. It's like 4 years ago. And when we were writing a bunch of other records at Henson, Neff, you know, he's programming, and at some point he press stop, and both of us were whistling melodies. And she looks at me with this look, she's like, "You whistle too?" Like, yeah. we had our bonding moment over the fact that we both whistle melodies.
After the last time I saw you, bro, I tried whistling, and it just, when I sing melodies for the artist, right? Or I come up with these vocal gibberish things, and my philosophy is, since I sound like a hurt dog, if I can get that to sound good and the singer is better than me, I know it's going to be, or not good, but to where it's actually making me feel something and, you know, cool. I know the singer's going to be able to just kill it. And I tried this whistling, and bruh, no, it was not. Listening to you just now, it's beautiful the way you did that, and I could not do it.
Man, I think you know, we have somebody from Detroit who knows about White's records, but there's one thing about, I grew up in that record store. So for me, when I was like, my grandma used to tell me that when I was a baby, and I was a baby in the crib in the record store, she said if I really liked the record, I had this ball, and I would, like, throw this ball from my head to my feet, knock it back, knock it back, knock it back, knock it back. She said if I really, really liked the record. But as I grew up, I was singing at a really early age. But more than anything, it's not until these years that I realized I was actually singing harmonies to these records. Because I'll listen to records that I know are, you know, they're classic records, and they don't sound right to me. And it, you know, it took me years to realize they don't sound right because the harmony I was singing as a kid isn't there. You know, so it's like they're still classic records, but to me, I've realized that for years I was arranging as a kid and didn't even know that that was arranging. You know.
Wow. Okay, Ghost. After this, it's your turn. Just unmute and hit him with your question. When the contrast. Wait, no. You know what? What is it when you listen to songs? Say a guy like me submits you to your song, and I'm not on your level. What are things that you notice are missing? Tends to be missing regularly. And what would you suggest people work on to help them do better songs? And then Ghost, after that, would you please? It's your turn.
I would do what Michael did. Michael did it in a way that none of us will ever be able to do, but we don't have to because we have iTunes and Spotify. Every week, Michael would have one of his guys make a CD of what was top 20. And we'd all listen to that. So it was our way of knowing what's current. It's not a way to copy. It's more a way of knowing what's out there, what you're fighting against, what you're competing against. And it's, you know, one of my buddy's nephew, you know, told an artist that is signed to me, and he told him right. You don't want to try and compete with other things because you'll always lose. But to me, at least if you know what's out there, it gives you an idea of how to react to what the sound is, so you can build on what you do to make it so that it crushes everything else. It's more about destroying everything else than it is about copying. But yeah, to me, listen, like go on Spotify, go on iTunes, look at the top 10 and listen to those records. And if you listen enough, some of that is it's gonna creep into you.
Okay, and what's missing when somebody like me submits a song to you? What are the things that you see tend to not be there that you immediately would know, yeah, this needs to be in there? What type of stuff is missing?
I don't think there's anything consistent. It's different it's different for every songwriter. And you know, usually it's just a really, really strong melody. Nine times out of 10, it's like I think that, you know, the idea that if I had, you know, say this record, you know, if I went okay, that's all right, you know, but could it be so to me, my answer would be try different things. Keep trying until you think you found that. Like, don't just go, okay, that's got to be it. Because it's never, you know, there are some people, the first try, it's the one. You know, Heartbreaker, it was the one.
What did you just do different between those two? What is the difference?
I just sang a different melody. Just a different melody. And you can sing a different melody to any group of chords. So you just keep on trying until you find the one you feel like, that's the one.
Because that second melody, it was like you were into it. I felt it immediately, the difference. It was like you were actually into it and like you were feeling it and actually communicating something. I'll say that.
But that's the key. The key is keep going until you found that one. Don't accept that you know, oh, that was it. I just sang one. That's got to be it. No, it doesn't have to be it. You can always sing a better melody.
And when you first did a melody and you whistled it, and that one, that second one right there, you just made those up on the spot?
Well, the last one is part and parcel stolen from what the original song ended up meaning. But
okay,
it's just to show you that you can come up with a different melody on the same track.
the same,
like,
yeah.
You can do that all day, and everybody should be able to do that all day.
Okay, now, Ghost, I'm gonna say this, and then you just go. The last time I saw MISCHKE was at IMSTA SA in LA, and a guy was having trouble with melody. He has these tracks. He was having trouble with melody, and I was smirking because I'm like, oh yeah, there's MISCHKE over there, and I already knew the deal on MISCHKE. So I asked MISCHKE would he sing a melody to it. He puts the headphones on and just starts whistling this. It sounded like a song with him doing it, and I'm like, wow, yeah, we got a long ways to go. Like you'll get into the room thinking, like somebody told me that if they were on stage with Beyonce, they would blow her away or be able to compete. And when I heard Kelly Rowland sing about 10 feet away from me giving a demonstration, I was like, yeah, somebody's delusional. Like people are just delusional. And then with MISCHKE, if you get in the room with MISCHKE and you're not up to par and you got this ego, man, without him even trying, you're just gonna be slayed because this is crazy. Crazy good. So Ghost, would you please?
Yeah. Hey, how you doing, MISCHKE? It's a pleasure to talk to you. So one thing I kind of want to know is you mentioned a lot about your vocals, which I really totally appreciate. Someone for me that is my favorite producer and focused a lot on vocals is Mutt Lange. Most notably the way he changed the direction of AC/DC, the way he took Def Leppard, and the way that he took a Shania Twain record, wrote it, recorded it, mixed it, and nailed a Grammy. So I just kind of want to know what do you think sounds good? Because you know what you do is not going to work for me, but I want to know what you think sounds good. What do you find yourself listening to when you're listening to music?
I've done rock before, so
yeah. So you're familiar with Mutt Lange?
To me, Mutt is definitely another one of those just rock star producers. You know, one of those guys who just takes his time to get it right, and you know he is about the vocals too. You know, he's about those nice chords, and he follows the melody. And he's a special human being. I think Mutt's approach is very kind of almost Swedish, kind of what we hear in the Swedish sound now is was started by Mutt Lange, and you know that whole sound. But so, what is your question for?
Well, would you consider yourself to be as active as he is? Because you know he's known for taking 24 tracks and condensing them to one and making more layers, and everyone in the room and the engineer, everyone did a layer, and he just created.
I mean, let's keep it real. What I consider that I am Mutt Lange, I'm not Mutt Lange. Mutt Lange is Mutt Lange. And, you know, Mutt Lange is one of those special individuals who, you know, like Quincy Jones. To me, he's on the level of Quincy Jones. He's just in a different genre of music. Mutt Lange is, you know, I think his whole approach to, but in terms of layering, yeah, we think very similarly.
Okay.
It is about textures and the way you make people feel. And in the end, at the end of me making a record, if you feel a certain way, then I've achieved my goal. It's same with Mutt Lange. That's the way he approaches it. He approaches he's making his records, but he's not making a record for the masses. He's making a record for what he knows sounds good. And you know, bless him, he's been hugely successful.
So a record that was turned on to me by Tony Shepard to listen to was Toy Matinee, recorded in 1991. Do you have a record that you think is the quintessential, everything is just right, the melodies, the mix, it feels awesome to you? Is there a record that feels like that to you?
I mean, there are tons to me in my life, from Marvin Gaye, What's Going On, to Human Nature, Michael Jackson. There are tons of records that you know, I mean, there are tons of Line records. You think of Hysteria record, you know, classic. So, you know, there's, you know, we're all blessed to be musicians and songwriters in this era, to have listened to some of the records and to have created some of the records.
Right on. Thank you.
Welcome. Anything else?
Your turn, Brad.
Brad's got it.
You're muted, Brad. Yep, got it. Brad, you got to unmute yourself.
Oh.
Thought I did. Whoops.
There you
okay,
go.
There I am. Okay. Anyway, all right. Hey, Mishke, how you doing?
Hi.
We have a little bit of a similar background.
Mike, is that? Is that a
Huh?
Apex 460?
It is. You know your mics. Well, you would. Anyway, I had experience with Michael and Quincy back in the 80s when I was a partner with Seth Riggs. And Seth Riggs' things was more about vocal therapy, as far as what I can tell that Michael got out of coming to us. But when I worked with Quincy, it was a lot more about the emotions. And so I've used the technique that I learned from Seth, but I've continued to hit the emotion side stronger and stronger and stronger every year. Because I know that's really what it matters, especially when I talk to people like you. I know that's all that really matters. What does it feel like you already said. So if you track vocalists, do you do anything to help them? And do you have any techniques or things that you use to bring out, you said you want to bring out the best of them. So what kinds of things do you use to make sure that they maximize the feel, the emotional expression of the recording? Because, you know, we all know that the booth is the hardest place to do that in.
It's the hardest place. That's why when I record here, as you can see,
yeah,
I record here. I record right in the same room. And the reasoning is that people tend to get very closed up when you put them in that booth. When I recorded Henson, have you recorded Henson?
I haven't.
At Henson, it's the you would know the room from the A room is the We Are the World room. It's where they recorded We Are the World. But there's a huge room, and then there's a side booth. Almost every vocalist except for Shaka Khan ever recorded in that room was in that small room, because everybody becomes intimidated when they're in that just huge room. It's just, there's, you know, it's too much to think about. You know, it's like, it's showtime, buddy.
Yeah.
You know? But I think for most singers, what I would always say is, you know, the way that if you watched, and you work with Michael, so you understand, like when you watch him dance, he danced the way I like people to sing.
Yeah, well, he created his singing through his dancing, I think. But
to me, the most important thing about watching Michael dance is every move he makes, he dances as if that's the last move he's ever gonna do. And that's the way I try and approach vocals, is that, you know, if you're singing, every line should be a moment. You know, every single line. It's like you're not singing a verse to get to a hook. You're singing each one of those lines to create a special moment. And if you can create those special moments, that's how you draw people in. People aren't really going to care about a song if you've gotten to this amazing hook and you didn't carry them through that verse. So to me, it's about making those moments special within the song. You have to be able to kind of carry that. To me, it's straight off that first line. You know, there has to be something that draws me in, that makes me want to listen to that artist. So I try and create, you know, I usually record more for feel than for pitch. I want to feel, you know, I want you to make me feel something, whether it's happiness, whether it's sadness. I want you to make me feel something. And if I don't feel it, we'll probably be recording a while. But you know, I've been blessed that almost everybody I've worked with, almost the best takes are always the first takes, first, third. You know, once you get over that, you know, you're kind of just repeating more of what you've already had without the spontaneity. So, you know, for a good singer, you're probably going to get it in the first couple. So what years did you work with Seth?
Well, I was his partner, so at the time I was kind of more into the technique side of it. But I have a 60s background. I've been on microphone since I was 12, and I played electric guitar since I was 16. You know, so this acoustic world that he was in never really made a whole lot of sense to me. I do understand it, and there's nothing wrong with it. You know, if the microphone had never been invented, we'd still be singing in an operatic style. You have to sing that way to fill a room. You know, but that's very old style and not really part of my world. And so when he would try to get me to, whoa, you know, I was like, no, we can't. I mean, I wouldn't say that to his face, but I can't do that. I'm sorry. And I think a lot of the artists he worked with, you know, and I know several of them that felt the same way. It's like, he's great. I love him. The technique's great, but I can't do it that way, you know.
I mean, I love Seth. Seth
Yeah.
was my probably 98. But and he changed the game
he did
in vocal coaching in pop music. You know, he changed it. It's a different world, and I kind of look at what Seth gave me as something that you know, even to this day, you know, I don't perform live anymore. But if you put me on a stage, I can pretty much tell you, you know, I'll sound the same the second night as I did the first. And, you know, that's based on everything I learned from Seth.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah, the stamina aspect.
Yeah, you know, he's I don't know if you know his daughters, but his daughter Rachel and Katie, they're both friends of mine, and they're both great vocal coaches, and I recommend them constantly to everybody, because they've taken what their father developed and brought it into the pop world.
That's great. I haven't seen Seth for a long time because we kind of split because of this opera pop thing. He didn't. You know, I would be coaching a person, you know, more for feel and the performance and stuff. He said, no, you got to get that perfect, you know, whatever the tone is. And I say, I get it, you know, and we'll work on that later. But they've got an audition tomorrow. You know? It's like, and if I'm like trying to teach them a whole brand new way of singing the day before a performance or a day before the recording session, that just cheapens everything, you know. And
if you're trying to learn the day before, especially
right.
Seth Riggs' system is one of those. It's a system.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to learn how to breathe it. I learned from Seth, and I learned from one of his. There was a guy that he taught his system in Toronto named Bill Vincent, who is now passed away. But you know, same two great vocal coaches, but it's all his system. His system has changed the game, because I don't really know that many professional vocal coaches who aren't teaching a version of his system, whether they know it or not. You know?
Mm-hmm. Well, it works. It works with the microphone really well. If you understand the microphone, it works really well.
Mm-hmm. So, how did you hear about the Apex 460?
Actually, a friend of mine gave it to me. So I can't give you a big story about it.
That is probably the best. It's especially, I mean, in the price range that it is, the Apex 460 is a great mic. I'm currently using the Slate BMS, which is probably my favorite mic I've ever had in my life. And I've had.
Cool. I didn't know it was that great of a mic, but I mean, I really enjoy the way I sound on it. So, what else can you say? So, do you do any pre-production with the singers?
What's that?
Do you do any pre-production with the artists, the singers?
No. Usually, I'm kind of like if it's for a song that I wrote, 9 times out of 10, the first time I'll ever meet the artist is at the session when I'm recording it.
Yeah.
And usually on songs that I didn't write, same thing. The first time I ever meet the artist is right when I walk in the studio, and we're probably recording within 15 minutes of that. So.
All right. Well, I thank you very much, Mishka. I hope we meet
Nice.
in the live world at some point,
Yes,
working on the same project or whatever. But I know everybody else got a lot of questions, and so I'll let you go. Nice talk. Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Brad, when we do the next Mentors Lab, I'm gonna try to kidnap Mishka like they do at the college parties, like kidnap him and get him over to the event and make him participate with us. Okay, so Freeman has to go next, but hold on, bro. Mishka, you just said the Slate VMS is your favorite mic.
Yeah, look at this thing. Let me tell you.
And we engineers are over here smirking, and it's like we're like, what?
Let me
Bring
tell
it.
you. Anybody who has anything else to say, they don't know what they're talking about. Like they don't know. I'll tell you. So this is the mic that this is Sound Deluxe E47, right? It kind of sounds like a 47 morphed with 251 E on the top end. A really, really nice sounding mic. And it's 2 months. So, and I'll tell you, when we did Britney's last record, at some point she decided that she didn't like the mic that she had been on, but I wasn't the one who chose it. It was what she'd been singing on for, I guess, the last year. And so I just told her, I said, you know, in order to get what I think you want, we have to get a different mic. So we swapped out and did a mic shootout one day, and my Sound Deluxe E47 won out of all these other mics, which were, you know, in some cases $20,000 mics, $30,000 mics. Mine is probably like $7,500 mic. But I swear, I have not put that thing on that stand since I got this late. Not once.
Why, bro? What's the deal? Come on, man.
Because it's like having, you know, 8 mics at the same time. And instead of walking over there and switching it out, I just press a button and I get a new mic, a whole new sound.
Is the feel affected? Like what is it?
What do you mean is the feel?
Like when you switch the mic, when you change the mic, is it that, what do you notice that's different? I know the sound changes, but is there a feeling change too? Is it just?
Tell you what, I work with, I still probably 3 times a year work with Debarge. The first artist that I ever recorded on that, besides myself, was Debarge. And he never liked my 847. He grew up on a AKG 414, the older one with the little green light in it. That's the one he grew up on. So that's what he always wanted. I just thought, to me, he sounded amazing on the 847. So I had always used it. And I was nominated for a Grammy for the recording of Second Chance, not just the writing of the record, right? And that was recorded on E47. So I just continued to use them on an E47. When I got the Slate, I just had it up. So I'm like, let's try it. So because I'd always had a 47, I used the 47 mod. And he's recording. We got through about, I don't know, like three takes. And he's not one of those guys gonna be sitting there singing three takes and that sound amazing every single time. And he just said, you know, he said, are you putting compression on me? Because he hates compression. And I'm like, no. I'm like, there's no compression on me. I would never do that. He's like, well, what is it? He said, I just need some extra presence. And I switched the mod, put on the C800G. he sang one take and went, at the end of it, he goes, "Oh, thank you." Right? And his whole mood changed. Whole mood changed. He was done that session in, 45 minutes. And that was when I realized, Stephen Slade might have something here. So.
See, we nerdy engineers are sitting up debating all this technical whatever, and that right there, real world stuff, is what we need to add to the equation. That is dope.
I've never been a person who chose my mics by what somebody else said, or by nerddom, or by, I've never been a mic snob. I've worked on $50,000 mics. I've worked on Apex 460. I recorded probably every demo I did on my voice for probably 6-7 years on the Apex 460. When I told the guys who own the company how much I love the mic, they thought I was crazy. They were like, "Oh, we should send you this other mic." They sent me the mic that was like the upgrade from that. I'm like, not the 460. 460 is amazing, and the 460 is probably, it's under $200, but it's a tube mic and it sounds amazing. So, to me, I'm about the way it sounds and the way it makes you vocal. So if it's, I don't care whether it's a $10 mic. If it sounds great, I'm using it.
All right, Stephen Slate, you get a win on this one. You just got vouched, like a sincere vouch from MISCHKE. Huh?
He gets a win. He took it. He took it himself. He created a great product.
He did a demonstration in a close thing at Westlake Pro, and he switched the mics, and the singer went from sounding pop to jazz just by him doing that. I was like, whoa. And I just said, forget all this talk. That is dope. And so that won me over. So, okay, so Freeman, hit him. And welcome, buddy. But go ahead, Freeman.
Just covered my question, man, from top to bottom. That was what I was going to ask in regards to the Slate DMS. So yeah, my question is answered on that. I did have another one in regards to the vocal production. Some people like to have the vocalist learn the song and be able to perform it in one continuous flow, whereas there are other guys that will have them work on each individual word, or as you were saying before, about line by line to get the feel and everything correct. What's your opinion on that in regards to those two separate styles?
I think when I started, it was about trying to get records done within a timely fashion. So it was probably more line by line. But I've kind of learned now that just a little bit from Debarge and a little bit from, I would say a lot from Chauncey Black and Blacksheep. Chauncey's one of these singers who it's like he inhales a record, and he's not, even if he didn't write the whole record, you know what I mean? Like he'll kind of inhale it. So with him, I would do verses. So if I did like a verse, I'd do that whole verse over and over and over and over and over again. And I do the hook same way, and then comp within those. A lot of times the way that I work is I'm comping on the fly. So if somebody does something that I really, really like, I'm probably dragging that to another track, whether they know that that's what I'm doing or not, and piecing it into what is going to be a comp. So I'm usually recording, a whole verse. And if I hear something that I really, really love, I'll probably just snip a piece of it, take that little piece and drag it to another track. And as I continue recording, at some point I start kind of getting a visual of what I'm missing. So, I will just let them know that this is what I really, really need, and give me great versions of these lines. And then, I'll start piecing those little pieces together, but end up with what ends up being
No, appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, anything else?
I think that covers it for me for now. Let somebody else get a chance and I'll turn in. All right, thanks a lot.
Jimmy had a question for you. Hit him, Jimmy.
Oh yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Hello, MISCHKE. How are you, sir?
Good.
All right. The question I have, I'm a retired music teacher and of course worked with kids of all different types of abilities, and I love getting inspiration and that type of thing from all sources. Now, the question that I have is more of a technical question for you, and this is more about rhythmic ostinatos and how to fit lyrics into the rhythmic ostinatos. And we all know that music has feelings and that it has to meld well together. And so how would you suggest, after you come up with, you know, and you're doing this, is it two separate ideas where you have the rhythmic ostinato and then an idea of a lyric comes to you about a theme? Or how does that work with you? Like, say you're not in your studio, you're just on the street, you're driving in your car, no radio on. What moves that rhythmic ostinato into a song, I guess?
I mean, first I will ask you, just to be perfectly honest, what is an ostinato?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. No, that's awesome. It's just an ostinato is a rhythmic repeat rhythm, whether it be melodic and or rhythmically. So it's an ostinato is like, as I was saying, a beat. That is a constant beat that you would call it a loop, I guess.
Okay.
A loop. Okay. So how to expand upon that? Because I hear kids all the time in the streets doing rhythmic ostinatos, singing rap songs, and then it just kind of like is like a butterfly. It just kind of floats away. So how do you do it without any music accompaniment there? How do you come up with a motive, if you will, that is a rhythmic ostinato, whether it be melodic and or rhythmic, and then you add a lyric that makes a lot of sense, that you know it's a marriage of the union of the two, the rhythm and melody together?
To me, it's more, it's like more organic than that. So I'm not I'm not really thinking about the pocket. Sometimes I might, if I get to say the pre-hook and I feel like the verses have been a little bit, you know, too flowy for me. I want it to have a little more excitement, so I'll know I need to kind of step up the pocket and make it a little bit more of a choppier pre, you know. So it's like, you know, how would I say it? So if it's like, some say you do me good, I love you so. And if I get to the pre, I'm gonna, you know, it feels like, you know, you can't really just keep that kind of like a flows through the whole song or there's no excitement. So to me, it's not really thinking about that as much as it is about just doing it. You know what I mean? Like I usually the way that if I write with other people, and I do that a lot, it's kind of passing the mic around. And a lot of times we'll pass the mic around for melody, and we'll all sing different melodies over this exact same beat. And one
cool.
Go through the melodies and say, okay, I like this section here, I like this section here, and I like this section here, I like this section. This sounds like a hook, this sounds like a pre, this sounds like a bridge. And then we'll start writing lyrics on top of it. When I write alone, it's a little different. When I write alone, I usually just pull that mic over here and just record. So whatever the vibe is, if I'm singing a verse, I'm usually singing either kind of mumbles with words, and I'll hear something that sparks my interest to make me think, okay, that's what I actually just said, and then I'll build onto it so that it becomes a real line. So it's usually more, it's almost like freestyle, and sometimes it is just freestyle. I think I might have lost you.
You didn't lose all of us, even if you did. I'm sitting here listening. I'm like, yes. I was about to ask you, what can I practice to where I get good at that? Which, duh, you practice freestyle and you practice doing gibberish to the music.
I think to me, the only way you get good is to do it over and over again.
Okay.
You know? I remember being an artist writing records, and this is back when I had Cubase, and I would write records.
Hello?
Write records.
Oh,
Hey, you're back. So I remember back in those days, I would write, and I, even though nothing ever came from those records, they weren't placed on other artists, those records made me better, and it made it so that I'd actually improved without realizing it. So to me, it's going to take thousands and thousands of hours for any record to become good, but you have to keep writing for thousands of hours. And if you're blessed to have any talent, after many thousands of hours, you're going to get pretty damn good at it. And it's just the way it works.
Okay, Jimmy's back. Unmute yourself, Jimmy.
okay. Yes.
Go ahead. We hear you.
I didn't catch all of that, MISCHKE. I apologize, but I'm back in. So thank you for giving me that information. I do appreciate it.
Okay,
Yeah, you'll be able to catch. Just
what did you
rewatch
miss?
it.
Okay.
What exactly did you miss? Where did we lose you?
Well, I missed it. It was interesting, and you were going to. I think you were saying that you can't use the same rhythm, or as I call it, an ostinato, throughout the entire song, or something like that. And because you.
I love.
Excuse me.
I never knew that was an ostinato. That's great.
Yeah, man. That's what it's called.
See, you came on here. You learned something from us. See that, bruh?
Oh, see, but the thing is, the difference between me and some people is I love learning. So to me, I'm not gonna sit there and let him say a word that I have no idea what he's talking about.
That's so cool. That's so cool, man. I love it.
So I'm cool to be the one stupid person in the room for a second.
No, you're the coolest. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and so you said from section to section, you want the differences. It's actually easily created when you bring multiple people together because everybody has their own different feel, swag, or whatever.
Right.
And was there anything else, MISCHKE? Because he missed whatever.
To me, you kind of have to think about something. For years, I used to write songs based on what other people did. You know, I had artists that I loved just like everybody else. You know, I loved everything Michael. I loved everything Babyface. I loved everything Teddy Riley.
Oh yeah.
And I was constantly making records that you would swear that was one of those people. And I remember coming out here one year, and I had one of my uncles was in film and in TV, and he was the co-creator of the Martin Lawrence show. But a great keyboard player, great piano player. And I would come to his house and I would play him all these records, and he would critique and listen, and he'd be like, "Yo, you're close, man, but you got to get your own sound." Like,
Yeah.
You got to just throw out what you're listening to, and just concentrate on you, and stop thinking about what people would like it because it sounds like something this person did. Said you're already a mixed pot. You grew up in a record store, so you already have all these pieces in it. You just have to go and figure out how to display them. So, and he taught me a really great lesson, which was that at some point And you know, it's sad, but it's true. There are some times where, you know, you're right. If you're writing and you have a style, your style might not be the style that people want to hear on the radio right at that moment. It might not be. But you know what? At some point, it always kind of comes around to whatever you're doing. If you're talented, and you just have to keep doing it long enough to you know, to the point where you get your look. And almost all of us get our look. You have to be ready when you get it. And that's what the writing thousands and thousands of songs gets you. You know, when you get your opportunity, you have to be ready. But I think most everybody, if you're talented, you will get a shot.
Thank you, Mishka.
Okay, Monet, are you ready? Monet was hitting me up over here on my phone saying she was ready to ask a question. So go ahead, Monet.
Yeah. Hi, Mishka. First of all, I want to say that it is such an honor to be on here with you because I am a really huge fan of yours. Am I still there, you guys?
I hear you.
Okay. And it's always been a dream of mine to actually meet you. So I am one of those people where I'm a true believer. If you speak something to existence, it would actually happen. So to be here right now with you, I'm just kind of mind blown. So you have to forgive me. But my question to you is going back to in regards to emotion, singing, recording someone. Now I know some people are some engineers are all about like, oh, I just want to make sure that the pitch is right. Now, would you prefer to have more of an emotional approach to a singer and capturing that, or versus having just like making sure that the pitch is dead on? Does that make sense?
I mean, to me, I like both. I would.
Okay.
But if you're a great singer and you sing a whole line and there's only one word that's just a little bit flat, I'm a king of melodyne. I'll fix that though. I really much rather have something that made me feel something that was slightly flat than something that doesn't make me feel anything at all and is perfect pitch. You know,
right.
I really think that most people, I think to sit there and just try and be perfect every second. I don't really know that many singers who are perfect all the time. I really don't. I mean, and if you go to a Aretha Franklin concert, you go to a Mary J concert, Keisha Cole concert, I'm pretty sure you're probably going to hear some flat notes, but those ladies feel something. You know, they're going to make you feel something. And if, I think we've become so accustomed to, and I am partially to blame. I was probably one of the first producers to use auto-tune on records. And, I think it's tuned to everybody's ears to this perfection. But if I threw any of those records on that I grew up with in the record store, all of them are pretty flat or pretty pitchy when you really listen to it. But you know what? They made you feel something.
Right. So
it's not really about the pitch in the end. It's about how you make somebody feel.
Right.
So to me, if it's an engineer who is just adamant about, I can understand. If you're flat through the whole thing, yeah, maybe. But if it's just one little word or one little ad lib, that's inconsequential. It's really about making somebody feel something.
Okay, and awesome. And my second question comes to you from a writer's perspective, because I am a writer. And I often find myself, I can just be out and about during my day, and all of a sudden it's like, boom, a melody will hit me out of nowhere. So I'm always grabbing my phone and I'm like humming this melody in my phone so I don't forget it. And it's so funny to me because a lot of people is like, what are you doing? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like when I hear something or if I see something that made me feel a certain way, it's like a melody will come out of nowhere. And so I would go back at the end of the day and look at my phone and see like maybe like 40, 50 recordings of just little snippets of things that I caught, that how it made me feel. And then I'll go back and actually, eventually elaborate on them. And I just wanted to know, do you find yourself commonly kind of doing that too sometimes, just like a melody or something just kind of pops in your head?
I'm singing so much that I don't know what I'm singing. Like I'll be on an elevator and somebody say, "Oh, you have a beautiful voice," and I'm like, "Huh? I was singing." You know what I mean? So it's like,
right.
I have the exact same thing. I have tons of melodies on my phone. It's constant. And
okay, because I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't weird, because I do that a lot. Like I'm always finding a melody or humming something, and they're like, "What are you singing?" I'm like, "Oh, nothing. It's just something that just kind of popped to my head." So like I'm always, I mean, it's constant. It's like it's never ending. I probably even told a few times that I was humming in my sleep. So so it's just kind of one of those things where I'm always constantly writing melodies, and it just comes by abundance. So I'm just glad to know that it's just kind of normal from a writer's perspective to always have your mind open like that.
Yeah, keep doing it. You're doing the right thing.
Okay.
You're doing the right thing. Boy.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. That was my question.
Hey, you got your answer. You are on the right track.
So it's cool to be weird. Okay.
I have a quick, is it okay if I jump in right now, Martha?
Yes. Go ahead,
that
Tamatha.
sparked a question.
Okay,
Huh?
Tamatha. If you sing Mishka's name, you can go.
Why you gotta do that? Mishka. But so my question was, she was talking about ideas coming to you. Sometimes I hear really interesting stories about songwriters who have had songs come to them in their sleep. It just made me wonder, have you ever had a song that's come to you in your sleep and you woke up and you sang the voice note, or you went right into the studio? Have you ever had that happen?
I've had more for me personally, more come in the shower than I have in.
Oh, really? So more in the shower than in a dream.
Yeah. I used to drive to Malibu, and I would always have my phone in the car, and I'd always come up with melodies on that drive.
Yeah, it must be something about the scenery or the motion or the relaxation of being in the car, but a lot of melodies come to me in the car too. So that's the nice thing about voice note on the phone. Cool. Thank you. That was my question.
All right, Ghost Web, you're up again, and then Joyce.
Hey, Mishke, I kind of wanted to touch on Monet's first question. So what advice would you have for tracking engineers who aren't tenured yet and working at the capacity that you're at? What advice would you have for approaching tracking with an artist? Obviously, everybody's independent. Nobody has a producer per se, and there's a lot of us guys that are working with people like that. So what advice would you have for us on where do we draw the line between pitchy and emotion, and what type of conversations and interactions would you try to encourage so that we can kind of better feel what direction we should be pushing in and what directions we shouldn't be pushing in?
I'd first try and recognize what it is that's making them pitchy. So I've found it personally, sometimes for me, most singers are, if they're good singers, they're not going to be pitchy because they are just pitchy. It's most singers are missing something. And it could be that could be the bass is too loud in their headphones. Most singers I work with are, especially newer singers, they don't really realize that they have the ability to just ask, "Can I have more of my lead in my headphones?" Most of them don't realize that. So a lot of times I will go listen to what that headphone mix sounds like and sing on that mic myself. Now, it doesn't mean that they're going to sing as loud as I sing. So I might have to go and adjust that. And but I'm usually trying to let them know from the beginning, listen, this is not about me, this is about you. So I want you to be honest. Do you hear yourself? Are your vocals loud enough? And you know, sometimes it could be that it's not even the volume of the track. Sometimes it's the volume of the bass. You know, sometimes it's just too much bass will just, you know, so sometimes I'll just, you know, put an EQ on that track. If it's a 2-track, I'll put an EQ on it, just roll off some of the bottom so that they can hear themselves better. Or I'll, you know, put another EQ in there on there and carve out a space within the track to try kind of give them a little space where they can actually hear themselves properly.
How do you keep yourself from getting in the way of the session and separating your wants from the needs? You know.
Give me a description.
So you've been berating an artist, and he's on take 25, and how do you know when to stop and say, you know what, maybe I'm just trying to get him to do something that I want him to do and he's not capable of doing. I'm killing the vibe. You know, how do you know when that's happening?
Well, first, know one thing. I would never berate an artist. It's really hard to be that person in front of that mic. I've been that person in front of that mic. And I think that's why I would never do that. And I think if you approach it from the point of view that they're putting their soul out there, they're putting their heart in it. And even if they suck, you know, they're putting everything they have out there, and the slightest little thing that you say can bring them from being able to actually do a performance that day and not being able to do a performance that day or the next day. So I never berate an artist. I always try and encourage and encourage and encourage and encourage. If there's something that I'm trying to get them to do that just isn't possible, I will change what I'm asking them to do. You know, so there's some people who can't sing a riff. So I'll just change it. I'll change that riff and make it a simpler riff. But I would think that you should always think about when you're recording someone that it's a very hard thing to walk in front of that mic and have other people out in that booth listening to them. So I would always really be as kind, as sensitive as possible. You get so much more out of artists by encouraging them than you know. I remember back in the day, I won't tell you what producer, but there was a producer I used to work with who, I remember when artists would walk in the room, if they went in and sang something he didn't like, at the end of the take, he would press the talkback button and he'd go, okay, let's try it again. And they do it again, and they do that same thing over and over again. And you know, I would watch the passion in life just suck out of the artist to the point where I knew you're not getting anything out of this person today. It's not going to happen. And I took that in. When I started with Rodney, usually, you know, they had LaShawn Daniels. So when I started, I was definitely not going to be working with the top artists. You know, I was usually working with this smaller artists until I worked my way up. And I took that into mine, and I understood that, you know, these young artists, they need encouragement, and I grew a foothold in that camp based on how many artists who came in who they just thought, you know, good luck, Mish, and they sounded amazing. So, you know, I think there's definitely something to be said for encouragement, sensitivity, you know, and adapting what it is that you want. I mean, when I came from Rodney's camp, it was very rare that if I sang a demo that someone would, I mean, it was impossible. It never happened that someone would change a note that I sang on my demo. I wouldn't allow it. And it wasn't until I worked with B2K, and I remember being in there one day with Marianne, and Marianne sang a different note, and it was a mistake. And I heard it, and I was like, it's different, but that's dope. And, you know, I realized, you know, it's not really about me. I'm not the artist. He's the artist. So if he actually changed it and it was still dope, it wasn't what I did. It actually made the record better because now it sounds like B2K instead of MISCHKE. So, you know, I think adapting and you know, kindness, number one. You'll get so much out of artists by being a nice guy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So who else is left?
All right, Joyce. Joyce, here you go.
Hi, Joyce.
Hi, how are you doing, Michelle? Awesome. I have, I guess, kind of two general questions. One's more so about your extensive career in music, like as a composer, vocalist, songwriter, producer, and vocal producer. I was curious as to what events like made you realize, oh, I want to focus in a certain area as like songwriting and vocal production.
Well, when I moved to LA, I was an artist, and I had done enough meetings that I realized that, you know, I was really good, but I think I kind of started realizing everybody loves my songs. I'm not getting signed, but they all love the songs. And then one day I was in this, the building I lived in was kind of like this little, it's like Party Central, you know, and all these young artists in the building. And one day this guy, obviously a producer, I was seeing drive with its little shopping carts for the building, and would push his shopping cart, a keyboard and a key. And we got in a conversation one day, and he tells me about how he's got this track and needs a song over it, and I was like, give it to me. And I went up and wrote a song, gave it to him like in a couple hours, and he's like, yo man, I know you're an artist, and I know you want the song for yourself, but I have an artist on Ruthless Records. I have a group, and they really need a song like that. Like, do you think we could cut it on them? And I was like, sure, what the hell? So I went over and worked with the guys, vocal produced them, and we got the record done, and it sounded so good, and I loved how they sounded on it compared to what I sounded like on it. It was like, you know, they were like Boyz II Men. It was just like, it brought this whole different vibe to it. And then I started getting, Rodney had heard the record, Babyface had heard the record, and all these big producers had heard it. And, you know, the guy who had the group signed kept on telling me, he was like, yo man, everybody we play your record for, they are all asked to go for that record. So that's kind of when the switch kind of started to go off my head that, oh, maybe what I should be doing is this. You know, but even still, when Rodney asked me to join the camp, I remember being at Larrabee Records, and I remember telling Rodney as I left the studio, I was like, so if I join the camp, will I still be able to do artist career? And he said, you can do whatever you want. He said, but just your personality right now, man, I'll bet you if you spend a year with me, you won't even want to be an artist.
Wow.
I'm sitting there thinking, what the heck does he know? And sure enough, I was with him just about a year and a half, and I remember sitting there thinking, no, that life is not for me. I love what I'm doing, you know. So.
Thanks for sharing that. That's very helpful for me. Also, like when you're in the different stages of producing, from pre-production to recording to doing overdubs and editing and mixing, what are some of the, I guess, questions that you ask yourself or things that you look for during each stage before you decide to proceed to the next?
Say it one more time.
Okay, sorry, it's a long question. So during the different stages of production, from like pre-production to recording to doing overdubs, then to editing and then mixing, what are some of the considerations and questions like that you ask yourself before proceeding to the next stage in production?
I have to be honest, I don't really ask myself questions about what the things like that. It's kind of like a little bit more organic, where, you know, you kind of know where you want it to go, so you kind of plan for it to get there that way.
Okay.
You know, sometimes I'll hear in my head, I'll hear a background part before the song is even recorded. So I'll know what I want that to sound like. I'll even know kind of in my brain what kind of EQ I want it to be, kind of what effect I want it to sound, be going.
Okay.
So a lot of times I'm kind of, when I write it, I'm kind of planning beforehand of what I want those little pieces to sound like within the record.
Okay. Oh, wow. Like, I was wondering, like, in cases where maybe it's like not as, I guess, flowing, like maybe you just have to start with the melody. Like, how do you make those considerations along the way? Like, for instance, if you hear someone's voice and maybe like it's not full enough, like what kind of delays would you use or things would you consider, like in the mixing stage?
If someone's voice is full enough,
Uh-huh.
I probably first double them.
Okay.
Probably get them to do a double, and not such a close double that it's like if it's a really good singer, the double will be very close.
Okay.
And it'll kind of cancel itself out because it's so close. I'll try and make that double not as tight, so that it
Okay.
kind of do it.
That brings up an interesting thing. Like if you tune like the lead vocals, I'm like, how would you approach tuning the doubles versus the harmonies?
You'd tune them. You'd still tune them. You'd have to.
Tune them. Okay. But like with Melodyne, all of them, or would you?
Yeah. You have to
Okay.
do what I would do is not tune those. Don't tune the dubs as to the same strength as you did the.
Okay.
Because if you do that, you're kind of canceling out the whole reason for having a double.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So in other words, the differences are needed. Differences are important.
Yes. Anyway, I really have to run about it. I've got a session that's going to be here in 10 minutes.
Okay. Real quick, Mishka, there's a young man here named Bunny. And just real quick, he was out at the pier. I was telling Jean-Marie on the last Hangout, Bunny was out at the pier singing. He has this beautiful, deep, manly voice. I had to stop this dude, get his information. Like, bruh, you got to participate in this event that I throw. But anyway, so Bunny, just say hello real quick. He has to go. I wanted to get you and Brona in, but would you just go ahead and say hello real quick?
Sure, thanks. Yeah, hey, it's this is Bunny, Mishke. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really grateful to be on this call. I did have one quick question, and it's just recording lower vocals. You know, are there any tricks that you have for people whose range is more in the baritone tenor? You know, it's still rock and roll, it's still pop, it's not jazz or opera, but like, you know, sorry, go ahead.
Like what, and when you say like techniques for recording lower vocals?
Yeah, like particular mics that you fell in love with, or different effects, or.
And for someone like you, I'd probably be on a mic that's going to capture that thickness. You know, so something more, whether it's a real 47 or a 67, something that's actually going to capture it. I wouldn't be on a Sony C800 something that's, those kind of mics are too top ending. So you actually, there's a scoop at the bottom where you're not even really getting any of the bottom that you have in your voice.
Right.
And I wouldn't, it's very common in the business to just cut off the bottom frequencies on a voice. If you have a really big voice, if you've got a deeper voice, there's no way I'm pulling that stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, great. Thanks. I appreciate
Okay.
the call.
All right, you guys, he's got to go. Brona, you there?
Yes.
Just say hello and whatever, because he's got to head out.
Okay, no problem. Just want to say hello.
Did you have a quick question real quick to throw it to him and he can?
The quickest one that I can give is how do you prepare yourself and how do you set the mood for yourself going into your sessions, or for me going on stage? What are some of the best ways to go into that, or how do you prepare your mind for that, whether it's session or whatever?
I mean, for stage is way different than for studio. You know, like for stage, I think you just have to feel in a certain zone. So no drama.
Right.
no drama friends.
Right.
That and yeah, it should be, especially for stage, it should just be about. You shouldn't be dealing with any kind of you know, any loudness, anybody in the back who's pissing people out. You know, you want to be in a really calm state and in the state of mind that you want to be in. For studio, it's different, and it's, you know, it's different. It's just different. I mean, I've very frequently run to sessions 10 minutes before I'm supposed to be there, and walk in and I'm recording in, you know, in 5 minutes. It's not as much of a prep thing. You know,
Okay.
Stage, that used to freak me out. I would definitely have in the perfect zone. Great photo, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you, MISCHKE. Since you have to go, thank you very much. It has been a pleasure. That one, the song for Ruthless, what was that?
The group was called Forbidden. I think the record was I Never.
Thank you. All right. Hustle out, bro. Thank you. I appreciate it. And you take care.
Have a great day, everybody.
All right.
Thank you.
Does anybody have anything they want to say? Any questions? Wait, you heard him say no drama in these sessions. So Eric and Monet, when y'all get out here, I know I've never seen y'all fight, but when that no drama in the session.
I don't do drama. Surprisingly, I'm all about just love and peace and happiness, because I feel that if my zen is not in the right place, that means it's going to convey over that record. So I don't do the drama thing. I stay to myself. I'm like, anybody who's going to be a Debbie Downer or them people who just have just negative attitudes all the time, I don't even associate with them, because it's just too much. I mean, why let somebody live rent free in your head if they ain't paying you?
Wow. Wow. Anybody else? We're gonna head out pretty soon, but anybody else? Any comments about what MISCHKE taught us today? Brona?
I missed majority of it trying to log in.
Ooh, okay. Joyce?
Yeah, I was surprised about his comment about the VMS, actually, because I got to use it, and I'm in a circle of people that use it, and I've heard mixed reviews, but I'm glad that he's actually liked it.
The mixed reviews that I heard are nerdy, like us nerdy guys being nerdy about it. Like one of my favorite guys is Joe Vassetti. He slays. Like this dude is just awesome, and he can pick the tiniest detail about whatever. But for me, you know, I'm more organic. It's like, did it make me feel this? Did it make me feel that? If I needed to know if the mic matched whatever, I'd have to go to Joe. But just doesn't make me feel whatever. So the nerdy guys who really are intense about that type of stuff, those are the guys that I've seen. What did you didn't like the mic?
I actually did, but honestly, like, I'm new to like picking mics, so I really like the versatility of it. But I guess I went with other people around me that are producers to kind of figure out which one was best for me. But I liked it a lot, because you could try tons of like sounds with different mics, and you can even switch the pre simulator as well. So yeah, a lot of options with it.
Yeah, we have to be real careful. We have to be real careful on what's important, what we're listening to, because like say you being a singer, if I'm coming from the nerdy whatever and I'm giving you advice on this thing, that nerdy stuff is not. Listen, Billie Holiday was one of my favorite singers, period, and I found out like 20 years later that she sang flat, you know, and somebody would have been correcting that and whatever. But as a natural human, whatever, that nerdy, whatever, out the window. So you have to be real careful and start judging for yourself, and nerds will beat you up or whatever, but it's, nah,
Yeah.
that feel.
I think I will probably get the VMS too, because it's just versatile. Yeah. I mean, you could simulate like really good mics on it. like the C800, C800, and also what's up, the Telefunken mics too. So it's interesting.
I'm gonna snitch on somebody. There's a young man in this Hangout right now that has that microphone, and he's in the LA area quite a bit these days because he done moved out there. His name is Freeman. And so if I was you, if you don't have that microphone, I'd say hello, Freeman, and like you throw your voice on that microphone and spend some time with it, have some fun. Wait, Bunny, you're in the LA area too. Freeman, are you there? Or is that just your screen, Freeman? Freeman's a dude in the black hat and a black shirt right there.
Yeah.
So y'all see him. Get him.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hello.
All right, how you doing?
I gotta disappear for a sec. Y'all go ahead.
Well, I have a quick question for you guys out there as far as microphones as well. My question would be, how do you guys, or if you guys ever use a Neumann microphone, what are your thoughts on those?
Which particular model of Neumann?
Kiwi.
Kiwi. No, I've never used that particular one. I've used the 87 before, and I kind of like that for general all-around type of stuff. But yeah, pretty much most of the Neumanns are pretty good quality. So I guess it just depends on how it works with your voice.
Oh, okay. Okay. Because I've heard a lot of mixed reviews about it, and I've actually had the pleasure of seeing one. I didn't get to actually record vocally on it, but and it's because somebody told me my voice is very powerful, so they're just kind of like, yeah, you don't want it to condense you so much because they're like, you know, it has good compression in the mic, but they were like, because of how thick and soulful my vocal is, they was like, yeah, Neumann's probably not gonna really get your sweet spot, which is like in the mid-range of my vocal. So I was just kind of wondering, I was like, well, I never got to sing on it to kind of judge it for myself, so I just wanted to see or hear if anybody else has ever tried the Kiwi mic and what their thoughts were on it.
Oh, yeah. No, so you're in LA?
No, I'm actually in Minnesota. I'm originally from Pomona, California.
Oh, okay.
But I come out to California quite often because I got family, and then I come out there and I'll visit with Mott and things like that. So yeah, no, I plan on coming back out there to LA sometime either next month in July or early August. So I'll be out there. So I'll probably have to link up with you.
No, that'll work most definitely. I was going to say too, even Vintage King out in LA on Sunset, they've got every type of mic you can possibly think of, as well as the preamp. So if you ever want to go in, you can have opportunity to test everything out, and then you can kind of hear for yourself what you feel best suits your voice.
But I was warned too that they're hard sellers, so just be prepared for that. You have to set an appointment with them as well.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And there's also Westlake Pro. They actually let you borrow mics and have it in your own studio and to test out for a day. So
that's a good tip.
Yeah.
That's a good tip.
I didn't know. Yeah, they let me try out the Mojave MA300.
Oh, that's the winner.
How do you like that? I heard about the Mojave.
I felt like the sound was a little darker. It's warmer, darker sound, and it's a really good price for a tube mic, actually. Yeah, but yeah, I decided to go actually with the Sound Deluxe U195.
Oh, okay.
At the end of the day, yeah.
What do you guys think about the AKG?
I haven't tried that one. Sorry.
I've tried the AKG and I like it, but I noticed that because my vocal range is so astronomical, I noticed that on certain tones or pitches that I might hit, it doesn't really sit well with me. But I noticed that if I'm more in like the alto range of my vocal, it's really nice.
Okay. Yeah, I have the 420, so I'm definitely looking to upgrade soon because I'm having like the same issue. If I get stuck in certain areas, it's like, and then if I'm soft in some areas, I'm like, yes. So it works.
Kisses it perfectly. Yes, it does. That's I'm like, yeah, I tried that and I was like,
that can handle it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you adjust the EQ by any chance, like when you're in different parts of your range?
We do, and I think it's just if you get strong in certain areas, because can't really do both. A lot of times I record myself right here, so I'm like running, trying to do most, and it's just like I need a mic that could just handle me doing what
Be
I do.
consistent. Exactly. I know exactly what you mean.
And yes, my phone is full with notes too. You're not crazy.
Okay.
No, that just means that both of y'all are crazy. That means that both of y'all are crazy now.
Hey man, great minds do think alike. Come on, bro.
Yes.
Okay,
And I
now.
actually have, oh, sorry, Matt.
No, go ahead. You actually have what?
I actually got a song that came to me in my dreams. The other young lady, I don't see her on there. But yes, my mom came to me in my dreams, and I woke up and just ran to the bathroom and hurried up and recorded it in my phone. Why I did that, I don't know. But I get it, like music just runs through my brain all day, nonstop.
All right, y'all singers. John just came in. I don't see his video, but John just came in. Dude is a prolific guitarist. I believe he's jazz or whatever, but like session musician type dude, producer. He's in the LA area. I have no idea what he has going on, but yeah, y'all might want to say hello, and who knows what y'all can work out since y'all sing.
Is my mic working?
I don't know if he's on
Yes,
there.
John.
But...
Okay.
Yes, John.
You'll have to forgive me. You're not getting a picture because I just woke up a couple of hours ago. So just imagine me wearing a suit, a really nice suit, and nicely coiffed hair.
So that means sweatpants, t-shirt, and bedhead. Love it.
Not even that much.
Wow.
We had it was Father's Day, so we went out of town for the weekend, and my wife worked a conference last week, so by Friday when we got there, she was done with that, but she was done. So on Saturday, I took my daughter swimming for about 3 hours, and the whole day we just, we looked at each other because we knew we were going to have to do more stuff with her to entertain her, and we just looked at each other and said, okay, toughen up because we got to finish this day. So we went off and did some sightseeing, and it was a good time. But, she was exhausted, and me, after doing all the driving down to San Diego and driving back up, it was, just a lot of driving, and with all the other stuff that I was trying to cram in around that, you know how it goes, schedules.
Hey, John, are you doing any work where you are in need of a singer?
Yeah, I do, but lately the stuff that I've been doing, I've kind of moved away from trying to do as much sessions and do more writing. So songwriting is really kind of where I'm going. So generally when I'm writing stuff, I try to write it with a specific end result in mind. Like, for example, TV film or commercials, because there's a lot of money there, and it's the best money right now, rather than waiting on stuff, posting it, and trying to get like an album released. It just makes more sense to try to focus on commercial opportunities and licensing / sync opportunities. So generally when I'm working with a singer, it's a singer who's a lyricist and who's, we're co-writing something, and she's also singing the song, because one of the things I've learned over the last 3, 4, 5 years that I've been working on this is that when people are going to license a song, it's more attractive to them when the project doesn't have a lot of people, co-writers, we'll say, in this case, but they look for free and clear music. So that means a song that doesn't have any samples, a song that can be cleared, which means that they can reach the people that wrote the song, and if they can't reach them, they're just not going to bother with it because it's a waste of time. So that's kind of what I've been focusing on. And there's, even though I've been doing it for years, I'm kind of learning it on a new and different level, and trying to make more connections with sync, like music supervisors and people who deal with sync licensing. So things like last year I did a thing on a show called Two Broke Girls for Warner Brothers, And because I didn't fully understand the money that was there and what I could have done, I actually lost some money because I didn't apply some things that I needed to do with regard to licensing and registering the song. So I kind of bit the bullet on that, and I'm trying to learn the publishing side a little deeper. You know, it's hard. What we do is really hard because we have to wear so many hats. You know, for years all I had to worry about was practicing guitar and making sure I was, you know, plugged into all the styles. And really, you know, when you become more of an entrepreneur and trying to be solely sufficient on the music business, you have to wear a lot of hats. And everything that we knew about the music business changed like 10 years ago, you know, with the internet becoming so prominent in driving distribution. You know, there's a lot of stuff that we've had to learn, and a lot of labels have stopped endorsing artists because what they do now is they kind of watch artists that are starting to climb, and that's when they try to snag them and sign them so that they're not doing all the footwork anymore. So, you know, I've been trying to kind of master that and get my head wrapped around that, and spending less time doing mixing, which I love to do. You know, it's kind of frustrating that I can't spend more time on that. I'm also practicing guitar less because I try to get the practice from playing tunes, you know, when I'm working on other people's stuff. But I'm no longer shedding guitar. I used to spend probably a minimum of 3 hours a day practicing. I don't do that anymore. I just don't have time with all the other stuff. But, you know, I think aren't we all going through this? Aren't we all doing this?
I haven't cut out practicing an instrument because I can't play a lick. but
I
yeah,
mean, but
doing everything, yeah.
I mean, we all have our crafts, you know, our specializations that we do, and we're all trying to master that. And there's other things we find that are a component in the overall picture
that we end up having to do, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so I've just been working on that and trying to really dig in and understand publishing. Gone to a couple of Sync Keepers meetings, which are they're run by a girl named Kathy Heller, and she's I don't think she's going to do them anymore, but the first 3 ones that I went to were amazing. She brought in Sync music supervisors and did interviews, and we got a chance to talk to them and even go up after the meeting was over and introduce ourselves and hand, you know, business cards. But to hear their perspective on how sync music, like how a movie or how a TV show actually goes about getting a song to place in the movie or filling up the time that they need music for, it's kind of an enlightening experience. It was good information, but totally different than what I would have believed it to be. You know,
what did you learn? What like what?
Well, for example, you may not, when you submit songs to somebody who's actually listening to your songs, they may not even respond to you. So you just have to move on to the next thing. When you hear about an opportunity, you submit the song, and you don't submit your reel, which is, here's all the songs I wrote. You submit a specific song in the genre. Like, for example, one girl was asking for rap. She says, I can't get rap. She says, I'm getting a lot of submissions from people of rap music, but it's all samples, and they're not their samples. And so they'll shy away from stuff that's sampled. But I also, as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, well, hey, all I need is like 5 rap tunes, and I can send her, you know, 5 modern rap tunes, and I could send them to her right now, and I'd have a shot at getting a song on her show. So what happens is they get these submissions of people that are looking for music, and you know, that are trying to sell their music, and they're not relevant to what they're doing, and they're too busy. You know, they've got this show, like maybe it's like an episodic show on TV that they're doing every week. So they've got a limited amount of time. The producer and director and the people involved with the show will tell them, here's what we need. We need a little piece that's 2 minutes long, you know, or maybe just a clip of a song here that's kind of this vibe, that's kind of this song. Or even they might say, we want this song, but we can't pay this artist because they're too expensive. So can we find something like it? So imagine every week, Monday you come in, you've got this list of 10 songs or 20 songs or 50 songs that you've got to find. And someone's trying to talk to you while you're trying to find those songs about stuff that's not relevant, like music from their reel that's not relevant. So what happens is they don't have time to respond. And it's not that they don't read the email and they're not interested. They just don't have time. So the best thing you can do if you're trying to get into film, TV, or commercials is send them material that's specific and relevant to what they're asking for and nothing else. And don't pester them. Don't keep, did you get the song? I just checking in. Want to make sure you heard my song. Things like that. Just don't fly with them. And they get a lot of that. And that's probably why they don't have as much time as they need to. And in a lot of cases, they don't want to deal with writers that aren't represented not because they don't want to deal with them, but because oftentimes they want to deal with someone they've heard about from a song rep or an agent that they respect, or an artist even that they respect what they do, and they know them because they're getting so much stuff that's just not good, they won't even waste time on it anymore. And what's interesting is that I've kind of been digging in and getting involved in more songwriting groups, on social media, and I'm finding out that I can understand why they're not getting what they need, because within the stuff that's really good, there's a large amount of stuff that's just, it's not ready, and that's what they want to hear. I mean, when I submit something, I've gone over it. I've mixed it. If I hear something that sticks out, or maybe there's a pad that just doesn't sound right, or it's kind of strident, I'm going to smooth all that out. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to finish that. And for me, when I started submitting like songs for commercials, I was finding I was always getting to the second round. So the first round you submit, you're submitting against other advertising agencies and other composers. Some ad agencies might have 5 people. Some might have like 30 composers that work for them. And they might send 30 pieces of music, or 5 of their best pieces. And the smaller ad agencies might send just 1. But what I found was that every time I did it, I was getting past the first round. So in other words, they've listened to all the stuff, and yours is in the second round. Now they're going through and listening again. And what I was finding is that I was always getting into the second round, but I was rarely getting picked. So what I'm trying to do is kind of evaluate my stuff and look for feedback from music soups and other songwriters on my stuff so that I can really figure out why it's not getting picked. And Kathy's had a lot of good things to say about that, about writing songs for sync. And her primary message is that you want to stay with universal themes. And people tend to get too detail oriented in their songs, and that's okay. But that's only if the show, like let's suppose Grey's Anatomy is looking for a love song. Well, maybe they do want a specific love song, but they don't want a song that's being sung to Alice if their character is Loretta. You know what I'm saying? So being less specific in the words that you use, in the pronouns that you use, they got to be, for people that do a lot of songwriting, you learn really quickly that you don't want to use pronouns. You want to use a pronoun that's really going to grab the listener. So if I start a verse with "you drive me crazy," this is just an example, or "you make me crazy," or "you are the kind of person I could really go for," whatever the lyric that you're singing, when you say "you," pretty much anybody can identify with that. You know what I'm saying? That you can, you grab the listener's attention immediately. And so she talks about universal themes, and she covers a lot of material on the types of topics that are good for ads and stuff. And so I found it to be really, really interesting stuff. She's actually got a course that she has, but I haven't paid for the course because I feel like I kind of got enough out of what she was saying. And what I'm also finding is that, like in the engineering business, all of us who like to record and mix and produce, we've seen a lot of guys trying to earn a living by selling educational videos and tutorials. And I appreciate everybody is working to earn a living, but it's not practical that every guy that's selling a video on how to mix is an expert or necessarily going to give you what you need for the next 5 years. Maybe what they know served us well for the last 5 years. So I've kind of pulled back from spending any money on that kind of stuff and just really focusing on reading and listening to as much stuff as I can and writing, writing music. So like, as I'm listening to stuff that I wouldn't normally try to write, I'm taking songs and analyzing them. Like I did a track for my daughter for her talent show. She asked me if I would do it, and I thought, oh, this is perfect. I'll do this track, and it will be a way for me to kind of dig into this song and analyze it a little bit more critically. And the song was Best Day of My Life, I think it was, American Authors. But if you listen to it, it sounds deceivingly simple, and there's a hand clap part in there, and it's kind of critical to the backbeat of the song. But it's like a flamenco hand clap. If you listen to the song, you'll see what I'm talking about. And I had to record that, and it was not the easiest thing to record and keep it locked in time without time correcting. And I didn't want to time correct, but it was kind of an interesting exercise. And I find that as I take songs and break them down and then recreate them, listen to the keyboard pads, get the sounds of the keyboard so that I can make it sound exactly like that, play the guitar parts, play the bass. In that song's case, there was a sort of, the drums have a bigger sound than what you would normally hear because they're actually using a sample from, I can't remember the name of the drum, but there's a tribe that uses it, and they're actually layering that in the song. So I had to go find the sample and make my own sample that sounded like it, because you can't, that's one of the things that you have to be aware of when you're writing stuff and submitting it to people. You can't use samples from other sources. You either have to create your own or use royalty-free samples.
Okay, now Jimmy, he just stepped away, but he was wondering if he could, where he could reach you. And Brona, are you still submitting stuff for movies or whatever?
Yes, I'm actually looking for some more people to keep submitting. I got like tons of stuff, just waiting to go to the right people. There's
a Facebook group called Boogie Shack. They only let people in that they know or whatever. But like, you guys remind me on Facebook. Is we'll see if we can get you in there, because they are constantly saying we have to replace this such and such song with something similar. Whoever can make this song, and if you were able to on the spot make that song, any of you, and submit it, there's budgets, and some are and some not. What were you about to say, Monet?
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, definitely. Especially like in my case, in my situation, like all my music is strictly all original because it's live instrumentation. So there's no samples of nothing nowhere. And that is one of the biggest things that I've been thinking about and trying to, as far as like getting my band submitted to, is for like sync licensing, because I know a lot of things that we do is a lot of commercial stuff that is very universal and it's just not pinpointing to a specific person. It's like anyone across the board. So that is definitely one avenue that I was definitely looking into and researching, because I've, from what I've heard from a lot of people, like John said, that's kind of where you need to head to as a, especially as an independent person, is like looking into like sync licensing. So it's so funny that he says that, because I'm like, yo, that's exactly what I just was like looking into. So it's just like, wow.
And the thing is it doesn't mean that you can't still approach being an artist or doing your own unique thing. You can still do that. But when you're writing, I used to work for this guy when I worked at a recording studio. This guy's philosophy was all work must be tied to a work order. And why that is because in a studio that gets really busy, you have a lot of seconds and a lot of firsts that are doing stuff for clients, and clients will come in and ask for stuff, and there's no work order. So now you've lost money because all that effort's been generated. A second engineer went into like a dub room and made a copy of a tape, gave it to the client, gave him a cassette copy that, so you've used cassette stock. This was a long time ago, obviously. But you've lost the time of the employee, you've lost the time of the product, the cassette that he gave them, and you have no tracking to bill the client because no work order was created. And what I've translated that to mean in this case is if you're gonna do the work, tie it to something, you know, maximize your efforts. Like if you're gonna write a song, but maybe you're just not sure about the lyrics and you think, well, maybe I'll bring someone in to help me with this. Now you've monopolized and capitalized on that second person's social sphere. So you're going to go try to sell that song, and they're going to go try to sell that song too, because that's part of their library. So instead of one person trying to get a song placed in an ad, now you've got two people. They're talking to the people they know. They're using their network. Hey, I wrote this song with Monet, and great song, and you know, we're trying to license it, and you're going out and trying to write the song, and so you've capitalized on doubling up. You're getting double the effort for half the effort, for half the energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total complete sense. I mean,
there's I'm going to post a link in the chat. If you don't see the chat on your right, click on the left chat icon, the little blue icon, and you should see the chat thread on the right.
Okay,
and
I see www.ispot.tv /browse. BROWSE.
This is what's really interesting about ads and commercials is that a lot of people are interested in metrics. So the advertising agency has a lot of things in place that songwriters and composers can use to find out who's doing what and what songs are being used. And I mean, even with commercials, you can use Shazam or SoundHound to find out what the song is. And a lot of times when I thought that it was a custom spot that was written for the commercial, I've later found out that no, it was actually a song, and they took the song and they got the stems and they edited down to a specific part of the song. Like a good example is that Target commercial. I think it's Diggy.
Uh-huh.
Are you familiar with that tune?
Yep, I know exactly which one you're talking about.
So
Yes.
there's songs like that that are used in commercials. If you go to iSpot, that's only one website, but there are several others. And if you look for, do searches on the web, you'll kind of run into these different sites that you can use. And you can always, of course, contact me if you're looking for more information on that stuff. I'm happy to help anybody with that information.
If there's any possible way you can send your information to me, I would definitely love to pick your brain in regards to that, because that is definitely something that the past week after doing this whole mix-off situation that I've been in, that I was like, yes, I wanted to see how I can tap into this whole sync licensing situation.
Yeah, if you go on Facebook /TUNEZ, that's Tunes, you'll find me on Facebook. And Matt, I didn't mean to dominate the conversation, but did Jimmy have something that he wanted to say, or?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
No.
Unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Hi, I'm Jimmy Tsai, a retired music teacher. I just thought it was great, John, that you just chimed in like that and you gave us a lot of information. It kind of started off, I wasn't quite sure, where you were coming from, but it was great, man. What is your capacity and your experience? Exactly what do you do?
Well, been in LA for forever.
Okay.
I came out because I worked on an album for an artist, and she got signed.
Mm-hmm.
I came out. The artist, as I learned later, got shelved. I don't know if you're familiar with that term.
Yeah.
But what that means is that the label has an artist that they're going to release, or they might want to release that particular artist, and they buy the master, they give the money to the artist for the masters, and then they put it on the shelf. And that's where the term shelved comes from. And what that means is that they're keeping their options open to do something with it later. But in many cases, the reason why they buy the master is because it competes with another more attractive project to them. And in the case of this artist, there were 2 other female artists that were similar, that the label was, but the label was pushing one, and we don't know what happened to the second one, but the artist that I was working with was competing with that product. So they bought the product and took it off the market so that it couldn't compete with their product.
Oh, I see. So we can reach you where at TUNEZ?
Yeah. TUNEZ, facebook.com // TUNEZ. I wanted to use S, but they wouldn't let me use it.
Wow.
Somebody was already using that. So that's I'm on Facebook, but if you communicate with me there, or just connect with me there, just send me a message. I can send you email addresses and stuff. And if you want to know more about the sync licensing stuff, or if you're trying to write music for TV or film,
right.
You know, I've had a few things placed, but I'm still not there yet. Like, I'm still working hard at making it happen where it's more of a regular thing.
Okay.
So, and I'm happy to share with you whatever information I have, as helpful or not helpful as it may be. And I'll tell you about some groups that are on Facebook and some podcasts that I've listened to that I found were helpful. And certainly Kathy Heller's podcast is a good thing to look up on iTunes. And you'll find it really quickly. When I first looked for it, it wasn't very easy to find because she was just starting out. But the popularity of the podcast has grown, and now several other music media outlets have kind of reached out to her so that they could interview her. And she's had some really interesting guests on the show, and they're not all music people. They're other people that have other passions that they wanted to pursue. And I think the most important thing that she's said, that she's communicated, that really resonated with me was that if you just follow through, this is the big thing that we find in our business. People have an album, you say, hey man, that's great, you know, send me a copy or send me a link so I can listen, and you never hear from them. Or you know, or somebody tells you, hey, we're looking for this, send me this. And then you go in your mind, oh, I'm not going to do it. It's just like all the other jobs, it's not going to come through. If you don't follow through, you're not going to achieve anything. And the interesting thing is that where I am in my life, that's the thing that I've seen every time I show up. There's 100 people or 300 people that come to an initial meeting and scream, yeah, we're interested. And then I show up the next meeting and there's like 10 people there. And I realize, wow, this is why they're all failing. This is why they're not getting anywhere, because they're not following through. They're not focusing on a target and then working towards that target and completing each action to reach that target. They lose steam, they give up. Maybe it's personal, maybe it's personal things where they're saying, well, I'm just not good enough. And you just have to push past that. I mean, we all have that. We all have to push past the fact that we're not good enough. And we just have to put ourselves out there. And that's, as artists and creators, I think that's really the hardest thing that we do. We constantly put ourselves out there, and we open ourselves to critique and to criticism, speculation, all sorts of things. We put ourselves under a microscope to be looked at and evaluated, And to me, art is not a metric. We are not measurable. You don't measure a person by, you know, how many hits they get on their website or how many people bought their album. Because to me, some of the best albums were albums that sold less than 20,000 copies, you know, or less than 100,000 copies. I mean, we all know artists that are just, why doesn't everybody love these guys, you know?
Yeah.
And if you look at some of the people that have been great YouTube stars, I hate to use this as a good example, but there's several groups that I'm sure you know of, people that have really, really amazing projects that they've been, you know, kind of rotating on YouTube or the site Patreon. There's a bunch of artists that are using Patreon, and they're really good. And you listen to them and you're surprised that no label has picked them up. But that's just the way the business is.
Yeah.
So you just have to persevere and keep going. So as I said before, just facebook.com/TUNEZ and send me a message, and I'll, you know, ask me whatever you want to know. I'll share with you what I have. I'm by no means any expert in anything, but, you know, I'm happy to share it with you.
Well, you're in the music biz.
So you're a teacher, Jimmy? Or
I am, yeah, retired teacher. That's correct, yeah.
What did you teach?
I taught music, and music teacher in Philadelphia in public and private schools, and absolutely loved it. The kids were great. Usually the parents were not as great.
Yeah, oh, I understand that, boy.
You know, they wanted their child to be, you know, of course it's, you know, like anything else, you want your child to be the star. And whether I was teaching a child first part on clarinet, or they were going to be the drum major in the band or whatever, their parents always tried to get to know me so they could have their child be first.
Or you know, the funny thing that I saw just a couple of weeks ago, the parent wanted their daughter to sing a solo, but she wasn't going to come to any of the rehearsals.
Oh, well.
I was like, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I've had that pressure from the administration where they've said so-and-so is going to sing the lead on this jazz tune. And, you know, this person couldn't carry a tune in a bucket. They just, I held my ears, and I did what I was told, or else a lot of times. And much to my chagrin, but the show had to go on, and the other kids in the jazz band knew that she wasn't a good enough singer, but her parents and she thought she was, because they were a great contributor to the school for endowments or whatever. You know, they gave money to the school, so the administrators put pressure on me to have that child sing.
What ages did you teach?
I taught, well, I taught most I have a certification from K to 12. So the music that I taught was, generally speaking, from orchestra that started 3rd grade and then went all the way up to 12th grade.
Wow, that's fabulous.
Yeah,
that's fabulous.
Yeah, I loved it. Loved it.
You know, you really appreciate it too when you're in a school district that doesn't have a regular music program. And we just learned this last weekend. My daughter sang on Friday before we left to go down to San Diego. She sang in this little recital, and the music teacher said that they're working on trying to get a regular program, and I was like, thank God.
Right, is that the tune that you made up for her to sing?
Oh no, this is like I won't say it's every day, but it's once a week. They have a class that they go to that they all practice. You know, he brings in music for them to work on and practice and learn.
As I understand, in music in LA specifically, they don't have a lot of music programs.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
That's true.
Yeah, and they rely on private outside music programs to come in and give their child individual lessons and/or create plays and different music venues.
Well, you know, in private schools they do, but in public schools they don't. But here's the interesting thing: it's not just music; it's phys ed too. Like, for example, when she was in 2nd grade, they said, "Well, we're going to have somebody come in for 10 weeks and teach 10 types of ball, baseball, football, soccer ball, and it's $150." So I'm like, wait a minute. When I was in school, we went to school and we had a coach and we had PE, right?
Right.
Didn't we all have that?
Yes.
Well, it's not that way anymore. At least not in the
Wow.
LA school system.
Oh my goodness. I just don't understand that at all. Kids need both of those beside academics, and everyone knows the music kids are the best kids in the school.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, there's just so many studies that show that music helps everything else, and not only that, there's been some studies on phys ed, specifically on gymnastics, helping children with spatial concepts that we didn't understand 20 years ago, and now they're finding there's some information that kind of backs up that if they have gymnasium or a gym class, it helps their brain develop in areas that we didn't see before.
It's
and
funny
I think
that
it's a shame.
It's funny that you say that, because my brain, something was happening with my brain where I couldn't even write, think straight, and I started exercising again. And it's like my brain is slowly clearing up because of the exercise. There's something, I'm lifting weights, playing basketball, like, and I noticed that my brain is functioning
Cross-training
from that.
Cross-training. What's
Cross-training.
That's not the term for it, but you go in and you do a bunch of different things and you raise your heart rate for about an hour in these classes and you do weights. I want to say cross-training, but there's a different, they call it something else. But I've been doing that, and I had to take off a while back. I had to stop because my knee was bothering me, but I'm going to be going back and doing some more of that. I had a little injury on my knee, and so I had to take a break from it. But yeah, Mott, I totally agree with that. You've got to exercise. You've got to ride a bike. You've got to do something to get oxygen into your brain. You got to drink water.
Yeah.
This is stuff that we don't really think about as we're like slaving away, sitting at a console or, working on lyrics, trying to record a vocal. We never think about taking breaks regularly, drinking water, going outside to get some oxygen, and it's all stuff that really makes us better at what we do.
Yeah, connects the synapses.
Absolutely.
All right, so Brona and Monet, that means when y'all start working with me, we're going to be hitting the gym. Y'all going to be sweating and looking pitiful because y'all going to be working. I'll be right there with y'all, though.
I'm ready for that run.
So, all right.
Hey, I do that now on a regular, honey.
You wanted to ask what?
That I reach out to you as well. My name is Brona Edwards.
Sure.
She's a singer.
Yeah. I'm find me on Facebook, and I'll send you guys an email address if you want it.
Yes.
And any information that you want to know about that I know, I'm happy to share. I mean, what would be great is to check out Kathy's. Let me see if I can find that link, and I'll post it here. And
you said Kathy Heller.
Kathy Heller and
podcast.
The podcast. You got to listen to that. That's really.
Yeah. So everybody Google everybody watching, Google Kathy Heller podcast and look for it on iTunes, he said. And there's Robin Frederick has a book called short Songwriting for Film and Television. That book has all kinds of information. Like, he gave you a website that you could go to. It has websites in there where you can go to for information, listings, all kinds of stuff. And the book is not that expensive, like $20-something or whatever. You can get it at Amazon. Anyway, so it's time to close things up. Is there anything? John's going to get that information or whatever. And is there anything that you guys final thoughts or whatever before we head out?
I just want to say thank you to everyone and nice meeting you all.
Yeah, nice meeting you guys.
And I would like to say the same. And Mott, once again, it's always a blast on these hangouts with you, man. I'm so glad I caught this one. I'm so happy I caught this one. So appreciate you and everything. And I hope to be seeing you soon, maybe next month, sir.
All right. Yeah, MISCHKE is the so that's Kathy with the CATHYHELLER.com/podcast. Thank you very much for that. and for the www.ispot.tv/browse.
Yeah, there's some other links for researching TV commercials, and they're all great because they'll tell you the song that was used, the agency that did them. What's hard to find is the music soup that handled it, and I've found some sources for that. So anybody that's interested, just message me offline and I'll send it to you.
I am. That's like
Wow.
my dream. Thank you.
And Bunny is out there in LA. I've got to find somebody, since I'm not living in LA, find somebody where Bunny and them can partner up and he can use that beautiful ass voice. And I hate referring to a man and saying beautiful. I'm one of the macho type dudes, but I'm telling you, his voice, it got me. It's like that. That's a good sing. That's some good singing, a good voice. So when we do Mentors Lab, I definitely would like him to participate. And I keep saying that to y'all ladies, because we're gonna get y'all in there and put y'all under some duress and have y'all working on these songs in Mentors Lab. So, okay, you guys, it's time to close out. Bunny, thank you for coming. Ibrona, thank you for coming. Jimmy, thank you for coming. John, thank you for coming. I think your name is Monet. Thank you. And tell Eric, tell Monet, tell Eric that I said, what's cracking, bro? And Mishka, you know, if you guys see Mishka in person at any of the events, if you guys come to the Consult Awards, whatever, go up to this brother and say hello. He is a genuine person. No offense or buts. Cool dude. You see he's extremely gifted and just cool people. And he's Dave Pensado's folks. I meant to ask him a couple questions about Dave Pensado and Jean-Marie. Jean-Marie. I wanted to get a couple of questions in on him about that. But okay, so everybody, see y'all later, and peace.
Thank you.
Stay awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.